So what is the difference between Christian counseling and just maybe secular counseling or a counselor through your insurance that you might discover? Well, on one hand, depending on the skill of the counselor, they may have the same tools. A lot of counselors, we like to talk about the tools in our toolbox, and so a Christian counselor and a secular counselor could both be able to use something like CBT with you, which is working through some of your thought processes, which so on the surface those things look the same. For those of us who are Christians and our lives are grounded in a biblical worldview, we know that all truth is rooted and grounded in God and His Word and who He says He is and who He says we are. And so while the tools or the skills of the counselor may be very similar, what is underneath them is very different. So their foundation is different. So for example, if I'm working with you around challenging your thoughts, we could, from a Christian or a secular perspective, challenge your thought and say, okay, in this area, you are believing that you yourself are worthless. Somebody that's coming from a non-Christian worldview would then maybe say, well, then what do you say is true about yourself? My perspective as a Christian counselor is at that point it's really important to bring the truth of God, His Word, and use what we know to be truth to challenge the false thinking that you're struggling with. So in the case of you struggling with feeling worthless, we can then ask the question, well, what does God say about you and your worth and who you are created in His image and how He views you and what your identity is in Him because of Christ? So that's just one example about how you may actually see some differences between Christian counseling and secular counseling.